He called me a gold digger. Right there, between the champagne toasts and her mother's trembling hands clutching pearls that weren't hers. Her father smiled like a man performing an execution disguised as a joke. The guests laughed politely. Then she laughed too, not out of shock, not out of defense, out of comfort, like it was easier to let me burn than to stop the fire. I remembered the sound, light, hollow, effortless. The same sound she used when I told her I loved her the first time. I watched her lips curve around my humiliation, and in that instant, something inside me stopped moving. A quiet death. Not of love, love had already been sick for months, but of illusion. I didn't argue, didn't speak, just stared at her. Her perfect posture, the way her hand rested on the table, close to mine, but never touching. The waiter brought dessert, chocolate soufflé. It sank in the center as if mimicking my composure. When the table turned back to laughter and chatter, I reached for the ring on her finger, slowly, deliberately. The diamond caught the light, trembling between us. Then I slipped it off, placed it beside her untouched glass, and stood up. The sound of my chair scraping against marble was louder than any insult in that room. I walked out in silence. But inside me, a storm began to breathe. It wasn't the first time she'd let me bleed for her comfort. I had noticed the subtle ways she adjusted herself around her father's disapproval, how she'd downplay my work, my background, the life I built from nothing. To him, I was a man with ambition, but no lineage. To her, I was the man who made her feel alive, until it became inconvenient. After the dinner, she called. I didn't answer. When I finally listened to her voicemail, her voice was sugar-coated guilt. "You know how my dad is. I didn't mean to laugh. Please, don't make this bigger than it is." Bigger than it is. That phrase echoed like a warning, because I knew, deep down, that humiliation wasn't the disease, it was the symptom. The real rot had started earlier. The phone turned face down too often. The late meetings. The smiles she didn't know I saw in reflection when she texted someone else. I told myself not to dig. That paranoia was unbecoming. But love makes you blind, and pride makes you deaf. And between the two, I was walking quietly into a fire I could already smell. I began to collect silence. That's how truth reveals itself, and the quiet spaces people leave behind. A spare toothbrush in the wrong holder. A perfume I never bought. The way her notifications disappeared faster than her apologies. She thought she was careful. She was not. I logged into the shared cloud backup, something she forgot I had access to. Photos, voice notes, little digital ghosts of intimacy meant for someone else. I didn't open them all at once. I studied them like evidence, not heartbreak. A hand on her waist, a whisper from a man who wasn't me. A laugh, different this time, freer. She had always told me she loved my calm, but what she really loved was that I never raised my voice. That's the mistake people make with quiet men. They confuse silence for weakness. They forget that silence listens and remembers. I hired no one. I needed no detective. I simply waited. Days turned into a ritual of observation. Her lies got shorter, her guilt sharper. And when she told me she loved me one last time, I smiled. Because by then, I had everything I needed. The man's name was Ethan, her ex, her just a friend. They had been meeting for months, before the engagement, during the engagement, even the night her father toasted to new beginnings. I confirmed it with a single photo, one she'd taken by mistake, mirrored in a glass door, her engagement ring flashing like a mockery. No shouting, no confrontation, just understanding. I printed the photo, one copy, placed it inside an envelope. That night she came over, tears rehearsed, apology loaded. She started with, I can explain. I handed her the envelope. She froze. The air changed, thick, unbreathable. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Silence. Then a whisper. "Where did you get this?" I didn't answer. She cried. I watched. She tried to reach for me. I stepped back. No rage, no release, just stillness. It was the calmest ending I'd ever lived. A week later, her father called me. He wanted to discuss the misunderstanding. I agreed to meet him at the same restaurant. He came alone this time. No audience, no laughter. He started talking about reputation, forgiveness, family. I listened. Then I placed two things on the table, the ring and the photo. He stopped breathing for a second. I watched him realize his daughter's perfection was just a costume. He looked at me, really looked this time, not at the man beneath his daughter, but at the man above his judgment. I didn't say a word, didn't need to. He sat there, deflated, humiliated, the way I had been at that dinner. I stood, left the ring between us, and said one thing: keep it. It suits your family better. Then I walked out, again. Only this time, I wasn't escaping. I was releasing. She texted me that night, long messages, apologies woven with nostalgia. I didn't reply. She wanted closure, but closure isn't a gift, it's a consequence. I moved out quietly, left no trace. Some stories don't need revenge. They only need truth to be seen by the right eyes. And in that restaurant, when her father's hand trembled over that photograph, I knew the balance had shifted. Not because I won, but because they finally saw what I had seen all along. People think silence is surrender. They're wrong. Sometimes silence is the sound of control returning home. And I have never slept better since.